So last week's Torah portion is by far my favorite Torah portion among all my other favorite Torah portions that come around every week. But it's a joke, not a joke, because it is really kind of our spiritual journey to make every Torah portion, even the very difficult ones, to find something in each Torah portion that would make that Torah portion our favorite Torah portion. And so that's where we are going. As we grow and mature spiritually, we seek to find in every part of our lives our favorite part of our lives. But I'm connecting with this Torah portion specifically in the context of what I want to do with you or share with you tonight. So last week's Torah portion opens with God summoning, telling Abram, his name was not yet Abraham, to lech lecha, usually translated as go forth. And the sentence that opens the weekly Torah portion last week was, lech lecha, go forth, leave your land, leave your birthplace, your father's house, toward the land that I will show you. That's the injunction. That's the commandment. Leave everything and go somewhere. I'll show you. Don't worry. It'll become clear eventually. And I felt, over the years, I felt very connected to this Torah portion because it kind of epitomized the different stages of my life. And I know it might resonate with you as well, with the different stages of your life. Where you heard, maybe you didn't heard, but there was an impulse for you to go forth, to leave what was in order to discover what could be. But that was yet a mystery. You didn't know, but it felt like you had to go. You had to seek, you had to change, you had to move from wherever you were. And as you know, I'm celebrating 20 years of serving this community. And as I look back, I find many different moments that were this lech lecha moments. Go forth, leave, find something that you don't know yet what that's going to be. I remember maybe the first time was the summer of my 15th birthday. A couple years ago. I went to Israel that summer. I spent the whole summer in Israel. I worked on a kibbutz for a while. I volunteered in other places. I met my family for a week or two as well. And I just fell in love with the land of Israel on that 15th birthday summer. And it was clear to me that I needed to come back. That I needed, this was the place I needed to come. And so 3 years later, I heeded the call to leave, like the summon from Abraham, to leave the land of France, where I grew up, to leave my birthplace, to leave my father's house. Thank God. I needed to do that. And go to the promised land. Go to the land that it felt I needed to relocate to and leave everything behind. And discover for myself. I was 18. It was really the summer of my 18th birth, 2 months after my 18th birthday, as I just graduated from high school. I got on a plane and I went to Israel because I felt the universe was calling me there. And I was going to discover who I was going to become there because I didn't want to discover who I might become if I stayed in France. I was not interested in that guy I wasn't interested in that guy. To the dismay of my father, who had my life planned out for himself, which is also why I left. Because I didn't want to live the life that my father wanted me to lead. So I left. Lech lecha, go forth. I had nothing, just a suitcase. I was welcomed by people from the University of Jerusalem at the airport. I didn't speak a word of Hebrew. I could say Shabbat Shalom. And it wasn't Shabbat, so he was of no use. And they took me to the university. They opened one of the dorm rooms. There was nobody there. It was the middle of summer. People hadn't come back yet. And they said, this is where you're going to live for the next few years. They closed the door, and I cried. But I was where I needed to be. It just took me a little while to figure it out. And then a decade later, I packed everything again. And I had $2,000 in my pocket. I was in my late 20s. So you see, in 10 years, I had saved a lot of money. That tells you what I did in Israel. I left my land once again and flew to the other promised land, the promised land of America, to another completely unknown land. This time I did it for love. I followed love. Followed a woman who was born in a very kind of unknown country called Minnesota. And that's not where I landed. Actually, I landed in Portland, Maine, in my late 20s, with $2,000 in my pocket, which I spent on winter clothes, because it was October. And I came with a bag of clothes from Israel that was not going to allow me to survive the winter. So most of those $2,000 went to get sweaters and jackets and coats and snow boots. Nobody wears snow boots in Israel. It would be ridiculous, even for Purim. I don't think you can buy snow boots. I don't know. So another Lech Lecha moment for me. There's many, so you could really list them. Maybe you're doing it in your head as well. Find out your own Lech Lecha moments. One was when I got married. That was a major go forth and you'll see what happens, right? Totally like, okay, we need to do this. We don't know what's next, but here we go. Take the plunge, as we say. Another Lech Lecha moment was when my wife's sister had her third child, and she and her family lived in Bellevue, and so we packed our stuff. We got in the car and we drove west. I felt so American. It's like the pioneers, like, oh, let's do that. Let's get in our what is it, chariot? What was that? Wagon? Our wagon, and drive across to the west. We did that. I did that. Of course, there was a Lech Lecha moment every time we got pregnant, because that is also an adventure. Go forth to the land that I will show you. You know, there is no map for that either. So I could really tease out many different moments in my life where I kind of heard that call. But the one that led me here, all of them led me here. There's not really one that could say, oh, that was not consequential to me being standing in front of you tonight. They all played a part in it, of course. But one of the most consequential Lech Lecha moments that led me to this tonight happened in 2001. It was just months after my daughter Amalia, first child, was born. And I was working for corporate America that had sent me to Israel. And that year was the year that 9/11 happened. And I remember being in Tel Aviv, Rabin Square, which is a central plaza next to the mayor's office in Tel Aviv, and watching the Twin Towers collapse. And I felt The way I frame it is that I felt on that day, in that moment, the power of the corporate achiever that I was being completely extinguished within me. I had no more interest in climbing the corporate ladder from this point forward. I felt like that ladder was leaning against a massive illusion, at least for myself. That's what I felt. And something in me said that I needed to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. And so in my heart, there was this major Lech Lecha moment calling to that will take 4 years and effect this radical change in my career. So 4 years and 2 months after 9/11, I jumped in. Rabbi Ted invited me to become part of this community. He had plans to retire, and he had found one guy that was sleeping, but in the back of the pews, he said, you'll be the next rabbi. Come on over. And he kind of reeled me in over the years as we became members. And he kind of made me an offer I couldn't refuse, kind of thing. So on November 5th, 2005, I signed the papers, quit my job, took a radical pay cut, and said, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And it took 4 years because I had to retrain myself. I went back to school. I got a master's in Jewish studies. And then I did my practicum with Rabbi Ted over those 4 years. And that was something else. That was, in order for Bet Aleph to be able to support financially this move, I became Melissa. That was my job here. I was the office manager, executive director. I ran, on top of that, the family programming. And on top of that, I went to school 30, 40 hours a week. So for 4 years, my week were about 80 hours a week of dedicated to this. And as you can imagine, these were not easy years. These were extremely difficult years. Because, you make a decision, and that decision for me was a soul decision. I mean, it was like I had to do this. It was a calling, as we say. There was no option. There was not a choice. It was a choiceless choice. Because what was moving for me was very clear. It was a lech lecha in this case that I love to translate it as go to yourself. Not go forth in the outer world, but go to yourself. Lecha means toward yourself, and move toward yourself. And to me, that was that part of the call that I was heeding by engaging in this work, going back to school. But in the outer world, because there's always an outer world component, this was very challenging. It was a journey that really required the incredible commitment, support, and major sacrifice of my family, of my children, my wife at the time. And I've always felt really blessed and grateful for their everyday dedication to this, because it was an arduous path. It was not. We didn't swim upstream or downstream, all the time. So go to yourself, this inner journey. For me, it continues to unfold. I remember, I'll talk about this in 4 years when we celebrate my 20 years of rabbi ordination. But the question that was posed during my ordination was, to the rabbis that were there to bless me, was, when did you know you became a rabbi? Because what is true is that when you become a rabbi, when you're ordained, that's where your learning actually really begins. And no matter how many years of school you've done, the school doesn't prepare you for being a rabbi. It gives you some background, some ideas, but it doesn't prepare you for the work. Like nothing prepares you for having a child. It's just, there is no manual for that. So it's still unfolding for me. But I think I figured out that I was a rabbi a few years ago, and I'll tell you that in 2029. And it wouldn't be right if I gave a talk on a Friday night and didn't mention Kabbalah. So the Zohar, which is the essential book of the Kabbalah, the Zohar talks about that moment for Abraham, when Abraham is called Lech Lecha, go forth. And the call is go forth to the land that I will show you. It's a very enigmatic, kind of calling. Like, I won't tell you no where you're going, just go forth. And the Zohar, the Kabbalah says, the reason for that is that Abraham was not going to a place. This was not a physical journey. The Zohar said it has nothing to do with finding where you're going to, move to next. Like, you packed everything. Where are you unpacking your suitcase? That's not at all what the journey was about. God was inviting Abraham, according to the Zohar, to go to God's land. And God's land doesn't exist on the hard soil, right? The Zohar said God was inviting Abraham to his house, to his own home, to his own land, to his own place. That is not a place to find. It is the place of the soul. And I've felt that I have been journeying since I was a kid. I've been journeying towards that place. And I'm still on my way. And, as they say, the journey is what matters, not the destination. And maybe that's why Abraham keeps being lost in all of the stories. He goes to Egypt, and then he goes over there, and then, and then our people go back to Egypt. So it's a journey. And because it's a journey that I've been on, and it's a journey that I have dedicated my life to sharing with you. It's a journey that I hope that we continue to walk together for many years to come. But I have to say, I can't believe this has been 20 years. It's gone in a flash. It's been incredible how fast these 20 years have gone. And like I said, like all human stories, they've been filled with great light, and they've been filled with great darkness. And these past 3 years especially have been really challenging for me personally in my private life. I feel that at this point I am slowly, very slowly crawling out of a deep dark hole. I'm being very honest tonight. I'm barely beginning to see that there's a future that I can create for myself again, or reconnect with a light. It's been hard. It's been hard for all of us. I know it's been hard for all of us. But as you know, some of you know that I've had also personal issues that have piled on. And those 3 years have been incredibly difficult. But it feels something is moving just recently. So I'm hoping that we'll get back into more light moving forward for myself. One thing that I want to promise you tonight, in front of all of this community assembled here or observing, participating from home, I promise you, as I stand here on the 20th anniversary of my joining and supporting this community, that I will not be with you in 20 years. I don't know how Moses did it 40 years, wandering through that desert. But it is my sincere hope that in 20 years, I will be sipping a beautiful glass of champagne on a sunny beach somewhere else. And I hope you support me in that. And join me. I mean, there's always room on the beach. So all this maybe to say in ending that I've been very aware, maybe because of those last 3 years, that our time together is very short. We cannot take this moment for granted. We can never take this community for granted, for sure, as we are creating it and recreating it every day. This is a precious community, this is a precious gem, and we're, each of us, I've been blessed beyond blessing in my life to be part of it. But we can't take each other for granted. We have this right now. And we need to hold on to it, and we need to nurture it, and help it blossom, and help it grow, and helping be the beautiful diamond that it continues to be. But really to keep in mind that our time together is short. Our time together is short. And to be eager, to continue to be eager to discover together where this Lech Lecha, where is this journey leading us? Because I wish for you, as I wish for myself, to never find the promised land. To never find the promised land. And to keep seeking, to keep searching, to keep challenging, to keep exploring. To discover more and more in every band of our years, no matter how young we are. That we might continue to journey for as long as we have this moment and these moments together, as far and deep on our spiritual path that we can get. Ken Yehi Ratzon. Amen.